Here's why you haven't started that video podcast yet. I'm not talking about that reason you tell people, not the equipment, not the time, not the I'm still figuring out my angle. I'm talking about the real reason, the one that keeps you at the edge of starting, hand on the handle, but never quite opening it up. You're starting to feel like a fraud, not because you don't know your stuff. You do. Not because you have nothing to say. You have everything to say. You're starting to feel like a fraud because you keep saying you're going to start something and you haven't. Maybe it's a book that's been breathing in the back of your mind. Maybe it's a YouTube channel where you thought you'd finally show your face. Maybe it's the business you've been building in the blueprints of your brain. But if it's a video podcast, if that's the thing that keeps tapping you on the shoulder every few months, whispering, "Are we still doing this? Or did we decide to die quietly instead?" Then stay with me, because everything I'm about to say is specifically about why video podcasts feel so impossibly hard to start and what you can actually do about it. You've thought about it. You've planned it. You've promised it. The mic in your cart collecting digital dust. The notes in your phone multiplying like moths. The domain you purchased in a moment of midnight momentum. You keep saying soon. But soon has stretched into seasons. Seasons have settled into years. And years have developed into that particular shade of shame that comes from carrying an unkept promise to yourself. If you've been carrying this idea carefully, quietly, like a candle cupped against the wind, this isn't because you're lazy. It's not because you lack discipline, desire, or dedication. It's because something scared in you is waiting for clarity to come calling, to come knocking, announcing itself, carrying a carefully wrapped package that whispers here, now you're ready. Now you're real. But no one told you that clarity doesn't arrive unannounced, appointed, or already articulated. She forms in the friction between thought and throat, between silence and speech, between the person you are in the privacy of your own perspective and the person you're becoming in the bright, bare light of being witnessed. Because a video podcast feels different, doesn't it? It's not a caption you can draft and curate, not a draft that you can hide behind or revise into righteousness. It's your face, it's your voice, it's your process. Those terrible telling pauses, where you're still searching for the syllable, reaching for the rhythm, choosing between the wrong word and the true word. It's you, thinking where people can see you, stumbling, struggling, becoming articulate in real time without the safety of the backspace key. Now that's the first reason people don't start. Not the fear of the camera's cold eye, the fear of the moment, the half-formed thought, the hesitation, the human mess of not knowing exactly what you mean until you've said it out loud into the listening ear. A client of mine, Lulu, knows this feeling intimately. She's a business coach, animated, alive when helping her clients see what they can't see themselves. But her, in front of a camera, alone, the animation drains, the aliveness hides, because her clients see her as the one with the answers. How can she let them see her searching for words, choosing between thought and meaning, and everything being unfinished? You're not afraid of being seen. You're afraid of being seen unfinished, unpolished, unperfected, unproven, uncertain in a world that worships certainty. Because somewhere along the way, we learned that clarity is something you're supposed to have, something you hold before you speak, a prerequisite, a permission slip, a proof of preparedness, not something you're allowed to reach for, fumble towards, or form in full view of strangers. So you wait. You wait until your words feel weightier, your thoughts feel tighter, your message feels safer, smoother, more sophisticated. You wait for the version of yourself who doesn't hesitate, who doesn't stumble, who doesn't second guess halfway through a sentence, the one who speaks in sound bites, the one who knows. But here's the quiet truth. The one that whispers beneath all your waiting, all your wishing, all your soon, that version of you doesn't exist before you speak. She exists because you did. She is forged in the fire of the first fumbled take, born in the bravery of the unpolished pause. She arrives after you've already begun, not before, never before. Another reason people don't start is simpler and somehow heavier to hold. A video podcast makes things real. Once it's recorded and released, the ideas leave the sacred safety of your skull and enters the world where it can be witnessed, weighed, wondered about, where it can be measured, misunderstood, or worse, accurately seen. And as long as it stays inside, nestled in your neurons, it feels perfect. It feels pristine, potential incarnate, unchallenged, untouched, unmeasured by anyone's metrics but your own. Because an unstarted thing can still be anything: a manifesto, a movement, a message that might matter, motivate, make something shift in the world. But a started thing can be skipped, can be scrolled past, can gather 17 views, and 7 of them are you checking if anyone cared. A started thing can be criticized, dismissed, dissected in comment sections by strangers who only see the surface and not the soul that shook you as you spoke, or worse, accurately seen in all your imperfect, incomplete, still becoming honesty. And that vulnerability, that visibility is terrifying. Some people say, I don't know what to talk about. What they whisper is, I don't yet trust my thinking in public. Some say, I don't have the right setup, lighting, lens, the look. What they really mean is, I don't want evidence of my emergence. I don't want my early version recorded, remembered, or resurrected 3 years from now when I finally figured it out. Some say I don't have time. What really they mean is, I don't know what happens once I begin. What if it consumes me? What if I can't stop? What if I start and then I'm supposed to keep showing up, keep speaking, keep being this version of myself before I even know who that is? My client Lulu kept saying she needed the right equipment, maybe more time, maybe a proper setup. What she really meant was, I'm a business coach. People expect me to have it together. If I launch something imperfect, what does that say about me? There's Chris, another client of mine, who said he's not sure he's a podcast person. What he whispers beneath, though, is, I'm afraid I'll give everything away and have nothing left to sell. Or worse, I'll run out of things to say and everyone will watch me fail in public. Because starting isn't just about confidence. It's about commitment. It's about consistency. It's about identity. Once you speak steadily, you're saying something about who you are. Not who you were, not who you will be when you're braver, but who you're being right now, with all your uncertainties on display. And that can feel heavy, haunting, hard when you're still becoming. And yes, let's name the practical demons, the tangible troubles, the tech that tangles, the camera settings that seem simple until you're staring at ISO and aperture and white balance and wondering which one is going to make you look washed out, or worse, maybe even unprofessional. Then you've got a microphone that picks up every breath, every swallow, every sound, except somehow the one you want. The lighting that makes you look like a ghost, depending on the angle. The editing software that promised easy but requires 17 tutorials just to know how to trim a clip. The thumbnails, the titles, the tags, the SEO that you're supposed to understand but don't. Then there's the platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, everywhere and nowhere, each with their own requirements, restrictions, and rules you didn't know you were breaking. Then there's the algorithm, that mysterious mathematical thing you're supposed to appease with consistency, with keywords, with posting at precisely the right moment, the magical moment where the internet is inexplicably hungry for your specific voice. The comparison. The cruel comparison to everyone who seems to have it figured out, polished, professional, like they emerged fully formed with ring lights and confidence. That client of mine, Lulu, has researched microphones for months. She watched Stephen Bartlett's setup, the guy behind Diary of a CEO. Yeah, that guy. She's measured her plain wall and found it wanting. She priced out teams, then wondered if doing it herself makes her amateur, especially as she tells her coaching clients to use services in order to save time and eventually save money. But is she going to be able to pay for a full team to handle everything? She doesn't feel like she'll be able to afford a whole team to help with content creation. Chris, my other client, has the same 17 browser tabs open. Ring light reviews, podcast hosting platforms, editing software comparison, each one promising easy, each one adding another layer of complexity and confusion. Yes, these things are real. These things are rocks in your road, barriers built of bits and bytes. But here's what I've learned, what I know in my Noah. The tech trouble is not what's stopping you. The tech is what you use to stop yourself when the real resistance lives deeper, darker, in the soft, scared parts you won't name out loud. There's also this. A video podcast feels like a performance where you think you're meant to be impressive. Most people don't want to perform. They want to think. They want to explore. They want to say the thing out loud and hear it echo back before deciding whether it is true. That's why talking alone to a camera can feel so impossibly, inexplicably hard. No feedback, no echo, no affirmation, no gentle interruption telling you, say that again, but slower. I think you're onto something. Thinking in isolation is loud, louder than you'd imagine. Chris has a friend who he admires, who interviews people, who's bold, who's willing to ask the uncomfortable questions. He's unconcerned about being countercultural on his podcast. Chris admires him, maybe even envies him, but he knows in himself that he's not that person. He just wants something that works easily for him, something that doesn't require him to be braver than he already is. Your doubts have megaphones. Your questions multiply without answers. Your voice sounds strange, stretched, not quite yours, in all that empty air. But having conversations soften it. Someone asks you, you answer, you hear yourself adjust the angle, arrive somewhere you didn't know you were traveling, which is why clarity often comes not before you speak, not after you've spoken, but sometimes mid-sentence, right there in the middle of the making, while the words are still warm, still forming between breath and belief. And maybe that's the part no one told you. That you don't get clear and then speak. That clarity isn't a condition you achieve alone in your mind before you're allowed to address the world. You speak, and clarity starts forming around your words, like morning mist meeting sunlight, like water finally finding its level, like truth rising to the surface when you stop holding it under. She doesn't arrive announced. She arrives alongside. She walks with you, word by word, thought by thought, syllable by stumbling syllable, until suddenly, softly, you realize you know what you meant because you've already said it. Clarity is the product, the precious byproduct of bravery, the gift that comes from going first. So, if you've been stuck at the edge of starting, standing at the threshold, hand hovering over the handle, hesitating, holding your breath, it doesn't mean you're behind. It doesn't mean you failed, faltered, or forfeited your chance. It means you've been carrying more care than certainty, more reverence than readiness, more respect for what you're creating than confidence that you can do it. And it's not a flaw. It's not procrastination or pathology. It's protection. You've been protecting something precious, something, this idea, this voice, this version of you that wants to be witnessed but worries about the cost. I see that and I honor that. I know that weight. And I'm here to tell you that you can start and still be scared. You can speak and still be seen the way you want to be seen. You can stumble and still be stunning in your honesty. If you want clarity, you don't need more time. You need a place where your thoughts are allowed to arrive out loud, where half-formed is honored, where hesitation is held with reverence, not judgment, where the pause before the point is met with patience, with presence, with someone who knows that the best things are born in that beautiful, terrible gap between silence and speech. If that place looks like a conversation, just you and someone who knows how to ask the questions you've been circling for months, it's allowed. If it looks like a call where you can finally say, here's what I think I want to talk about, and somebody reflects it back to you, untangles it, translates it, and helps you hear the truth in your own trembling voice, it's allowed to. And if you want someone to walk with you all the way through, to help you find the fertile ideas, prompt the possibilities, record the revelations, shape the sessions, and shoulder the technical weight so you can focus on the sacred work of simply speaking, that's more than allowed. It's available and it's here. Lulu, you don't need Stephen Bartlett's budget. You need somebody who can help you sound like yourself, animated, alive, the coach your clients already love. You don't need a perfect wall. You need a rapid feedback loop, real encouragement, somebody in the virtual room so that you're not talking to a sea of emptiness. Chris, you won't run out of things to say. You'll discover what you actually want to say, and you won't have to do it alone. Your books are full of stories. Your experiences are rich with lessons. You just need somebody to help you translate them into conversation, not performance. Both of you, Lulu, Chris, you just need to start speaking somewhere safe enough for clarity to catch up. You don't need to be ready. You don't need to be polished, perfected, proven. You don't need to have it all figured out, formatted, finalized, or flawlessly articulated. You just need to start speaking somewhere safe enough for clarity to catch up. Because waiting feels quiet, controlled, comfortable even. But speaking feels honest, raw, real, risky. And honesty, messy, imperfect, mid-thought honesty is where clarity lives. If you've been waiting, this is your whisper, your witness, your wake-up call. The mic is still there. The idea is still tapping on your shoulder, softer now, saying, I'm here. I've always been here. Are we doing this? Or are we letting me die quietly with all the other beautiful things you were too afraid to begin? And maybe, just maybe, the answer isn't soon anymore. Maybe it's yes with help, or yes together, or simply scaredly yes. That podcast you said you were starting, it's not too late. It was never too late. You were waiting because you weren't ready. You were waiting because you were trying to do it perfectly. But perfect doesn't speak. Perfect stays silent, stays safe, stays sealed in the sanctity of never started. But honesty speaks. Imperfect speaks. Human speaks. You can speak. And you don't have to do it alone. You never did have to do it alone. Let's untangle what you want to say. I've included links in the description and the pinned comment. We can have guided conversations and finished content. You just show up and speak. If you want support to help you gain clarity on your next step, I do offer a clarity call. The link is in the description or the pinned comment. But if you also want help, support with creating content at different levels, maybe somebody to prompt you when you're creating content and when you're creating your podcast, maybe somebody to interview you for your podcast, maybe somebody to help you along the way so that you're not doing it alone and you have the feedback you need to maintain momentum and keep moving. I've also got something for you. Again, check the pinned comment or the description or the captions. My team and I would love to help you out. Let's get you unstuck. Let's get you creating and sharing with the world the message your message that needs to be heard. If this video brought you value, I think you're going to want to save it. Save it to a playlist, share it with a friend, and come back to it when you need encouragement and motivation to keep going. Until next time, check out the other videos that I put out, and I'll catch you soon, hopefully on a clarity call, or maybe working together on your video or podcast. All right. Until then, take care.